Yo, what is up, YouTube? Back with another video. A lot of videos this week. It's Christmas and I'm not streaming a ton, so I'm trying to get out as much content to you guys as I can. Today, I'm just going to be going over a bunch of tank items, support items that I think I can kind of give you help on when you should build them. So we're basically going to be going through a bunch of support items that you see. I'm just going to give you my opinion when I think you should buy them, and hopefully this will allow you guys to build a little bit better. Start with Sov, just because I think it's probably the best support item in the game right now. 99.99% of games, Sov is going to be an alright item to buy, and then 90% of games it's going to be a great item to buy. So I don't think you can ever go wrong building a Sov. So Sov, always an okay buy. Midgard, I think Midgard is really only a buy is if like if you're diving their backline and in late games their ADC is just sticking to you a little bit too much, so you feel like you go in and then slowly but surely the ADC just whittles you down and just slowly kills you. I think it's a pretty mediocre item. I think there's usually just better items to build. It doesn't really do its job that great, so it doesn't really keep you alive from ADCs that well. ADCs are just so broken. It's not a horrible item, there's just better items to usually build. Emperors is really only a buy in the late game when sieging is a bit too hard for your comp and you have like only one ranged ADC, so you have like a set mid or something like that. Set mid, Pele mid, some like weird hunter mid, weird assassin mid. Usually I think Emperors is just not that good and there's just better items to build. Breastplate, I think Breastplate is a buy when you need some MP5 in the early game and you need the CDR. And I think it's really apparent on like one god and that's it, and I think it's just Khepri. There might be other gods that it's pretty good on still also, but I think the Khepri build where you just go Guardian's Blessing, Tank Boots, Thebes, Valor, like if they have 3 or 4 physicals, I think that build is really good. Khepri wants to spam abilities, he wants the low cooldowns, and then he kind of needs the MP5 because his abilities cost a lot. So I think Breastplate is really good on Khepri. Some other gods maybe they can use it, but usually Pridwin's just a little bit better. Contagion is a meh item. Its stats are really good and it's pretty cheap, but the passive is pretty mediocre. Really, the only time I'd buy it is if I'm diving and we're trying to just kill their healer. If I'm playing like Kabrakan into a hell, maybe I'll buy the Contagion. I really don't think I'd ever build Pestilence. I think if you're gonna build an anti-heal item, I think Contagion's just a little bit better. Spectral Armor, I think Spectral Armor is actually a good buy right now because of the Apollo jungle with crit build right now, and sometimes all you need is just one god that you know is going to build crit, and Spectral will be a good buy because it reduces crit damage by so much. So if you're playing against a hunter, a physical hunter in the duo lane, and then they have an Apollo jungle or a Mercury jungle, I think Spectral is going to be a good buy. Lotus Crown, if you're playing a healer, so Terra, Sylvanas, maybe you're trying out Hell or Alpha or something like that, I think Lotus is a good buy. The only problem is it doesn't have health, so you usually want to pair it with Tank Boots. Unless you're playing the Hell or Afro, then you can go cooldown Boots into Lotus, but you do have to be aware that you will not have a ton of health with the Lotus Crown rush early, so Tank Boots and Guardian's Blessing is your only health. Genji's is kind of the opposite side of Sov, where as long as they do have magical damage, and you're going to take some magical damage to make use of the passive, I think Genji's is always going to be a good buy. It just makes it so you don't run out of mana, the 10% cooldown is sick, and then it gives you a ton of prots and a good amount of health. So I think Genji's, like Sov, is like it's like the magical Sov. It's always a good buy. Shogun's is a little bit weird because I think it's just overshadowed by Genji's. The passive is nice, but not having health makes it a little meh. I think the passive for Genji's is just a little bit better for Guardians. If you're playing like an Amma, a Fafnir, and you're just kind of playing around objectives and you need that objective damage, Shogun's is a good buy. Beyond that, if you're mid and your ADC both do well with auto attack, so you have like a Poseidon mid, something like that, and then an actual hunter, Shogun's is a good buy. Onis, I think Onis has fallen off a little bit, but it's still a good item. I think for the most part, you're just going to want to go Genshi's over Onis now. I guess like the one scenario I would go is if I'm basically solo frontlining, or like they have like an early magical damage god that I have to be worried about. That's the only time I would kind of go Onis, and I need the MP5. Otherwise, I think Genshi's is just better than Onis. Stone of Binding, I think Binding is pretty bad right now. I think not having a health item first is pretty bad. So I think Binding is okay, and the only time I would go it is on the Kabrakan or an Ardia, where you're looking to fight early and often, and then you just have that lots of CC. So I think even Ymir, I would build a different item than Stone of Binding, even though he likes fighting early and he does have a lot of CC. I think he just makes better use out of like a Sov or something. Heartward. So I think Heartward is actually a little bit underrated right now. With some builds right now where you have to rush flat pen, sometimes you aren't going that MP5 item like a Doomorb or whatever. And then if they have like a solo Guardian or a Guardian support that's looking to dive, and then they have a lot of Thorns, I think Heartward actually mitigates a lot of that damage if you're sitting next to your carries. So if you're playing backline support, peel support, and they have double Guardian, both with Thorns or something like that, or even single Guardian with Thorns, and he's looking to dive, I think Heartward's a good buy. It got buffed to 20 MP or magical prots So pretty helpful actually for surviving. Bulwark is just the better Onis in my opinion. The only reason ever I would go Onis over Bulwark is if I need MP5. But if you just want pure tankiness, Bulwark's just better. Talisman, I think Talisman is an average item. Actually, I think it's even a little bit better than average. I think it's a good item. There's just so many good magical items, magical defensive items, that I don't think I'd ever go Talisman, really. Genshi's is just so strong. Shogun's too strong. Bulwark, Heartward, like all these items are just better than Talisman. Maybe if you're snowballing and you're just looking to rotate as much as you can and not run out of mana, maybe Talisman's a pickup. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a little overshadowed. And I think that's the same problem Void kind of has. It's just overshadowed by these items. The extra damage you get from this is not that much. And the only god I'd really pick it up on is maybe Ares. Ares makes really good use of the items, but most other gods just meh. Wingblade. Wingblade should only be bought if you're in a mobile god and their team relies on slows. That's the only time I'd ever pick up Wingblade. Otherwise, you're better off just going like Sprint Shell and just like using the sprint to get you out. I think just putting this much into an item, the 300 health is nice, the CCR is nice, and the movement speed is whatever. The passive is sick. I just think going into an item like this early makes you have to delay your magical defense or delay your physical defense too much, where you're just gonna get exploded and the extra movement speed isn't gonna help. And I think that's kind of the same problem Relic Dagger has right now, is gods that used to kind of go it, like Serket used to like it, Naja used to like it. I think they're just going Sledge now. That's the health item they're opting into because it's just better than Relic Dagger. And then usually there's just better health items, health options than Relic Dagger. But if you're really reliant on your relics, an Ankh or something like that, where you need that Ankh up as often as you can get it, Relic Dagger is something you can look to buy. Shield of Regrowth. I think it's just a Herc buy. Maybe Naja too. Herc and Naja. Other gods, you're just gonna have better items elsewhere. Gauntlet of Thebes, always a good item. Only reason I wouldn't go it is if I'm looking to fight early. I also still don't really like it that much, but it's just always a fine item to build. Gaia, I really liked the Gaia build that they I don't remember who it was, but somebody was going Tank Boots, Thebes, Gaia. I think that build path is really good. Other than that, I don't know where I would see Gaia fit into too many builds. I wanted to throw it on here just because of that build made it pretty good, and it made it look good because you had so much health and so many props from Gauntlet of Thebes. You're at almost 1,000 health just from items with these two and then Tank Boots and Guardian's Blessing. So I think that build was pretty sick. And then I see I'm forgetting an item, and it's Pridwin. And Pridwin, there's really not a ton of downside to Pridwin. The ultimate shield, or the ultimate passive, excuse me, makes this item just always look appealing. The extra shield that slows and does damage just makes it so you're that much harder to kill. So if you're going like a Thorns God that has a good amount of base damage and you're just looking to dive, I think Pridwin's always a good buy because you're just getting this free health damage. They can't lifesteal off of it or heal off of it, and then it's going to explode to do more damage while your Thorns is on them. So I think it's just a lot of burst damage that a lot of people can't counter, can't avoid, and they just have to kind of run away if they see the Pridwin shield on you. That's basically all the good items. If I left it off, I don't think it's a good item and you should ever build it. Like Pestilence, I left it off because I just don't think it's good. Witchblade and Toxic Blade I left off. I don't think they're very good either. Mystical Mail is not really a support item, but I do think it's a little bit closer. It's becoming a lot less expensive. I just think it makes better use when you're tankier and ahead. That's just how I view the items. If you guys have any questions, if you think an item I left off was actually good, or I mentioned an item you think is bad, let me know. If you guys liked it, leave a like. If you guys still are not subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and day.